Hello guys, what's up? It's your boy Mood Swings, and in this video I'm going to be explaining how to spec properly for PvP on DC Universe Online. In this video I'll be going through things such as which of the three focuses is the best, where to put your stat points, where not to put your stat points, as well as giving some of my own insight on the state of PvP. This video will be helpful for beginners, although it's mainly to set straight a lot of misconceptions that people who consider themselves top end players still get wrong, because I personally am yet to see a single guide on YouTube that not only uses the correct spec but explains it as well. So before we move on, make sure you hit like, maybe subscribe if you want to. It really helps me out, especially because I'm kind of exposing myself by revealing these tips. So yeah, let's begin. Alright, so the first and most important rule that so many people get wrong is that skill points max out at 100. So if you're putting stat points into, say, precision or might and power, after you've reached that 100 marker, it's a complete waste. And in actuality, with that knowledge, the maximum SP required for PvP is roughly 320, but I'll get more in depth into that later. The reason why stats cap out at 100, and this is excluding crits because crits are different, is because you want to be hitting the percentages buffs, and these buffs stop at 10%, which is at 100. This actually goes for PvE as well, but it's mainly predominant in PvP because in PvP there's no room for stats to be wasted. So for comparison's sake, on screen, look at my might and power with 100 spec than with the max 265 spec. Now another key point to remember is that these percentage buffs come at intervals, which I've put up on the screen now. So when you're respecing, technically if you're not landing on any of these numbers, you're not making the most effective use out of your stat points. By now, everyone knows that each role gets buffs, and these are what they are for PvP. DPS get crit damage chance, trollers get Vit, Dom, crit power chance, healers get resto, crit heal chance, and tanks get health and dom. But the next most crucial rule, which fools the most players, is these buffs are so high that it's not worth speccing into them. So take a look. If I'm in healer role with 0 stat point spec'd, I still have the same numbers even if I was maxed in resto, crit heal and crit heal chance. Yep. So funnily enough, a lot of the time it's actually contradictory to what you would think, in that healers don't spec resto, controllers don't spec fit, etc, etc. And this leads to the biggest reason why PvP arenas are unbalanced, and that is because every power support role outclasses its DPS. As you can see from these buffs, not only do the off roles get stronger shields, but they get these massive buffs completely for free. And then, to further spit on DPS, for some reason the game requires you to spend at least 20 points in the crits, and the only ones which DPSs can get use out of are the ones which it's already given. So, in my opinion, the best way to fix these issues would either be to significantly reduce the buffs that support roles get, or to give DPSs buffs of their own. So either might and power or precision. Oh, and to get rid of the spec 20 into crits, because that just makes no sense. Okay, so time for the age-old question, which is the best, Prec, Hybrid, or Might? And if you were to ask me for a definitive answer, I would say Might, but not always. The reason why superpowered is the best is because you can never go wrong with it. It's no risk and all reward because A, you get power regeneration automatically, and B, there's no risk spamming powers as there is with weapons. With that being said, If you are getting more counters, 10 out of 10 times Prec wins. Now of course Weapon Expert comes with its drawback of no power regen, which I actually would say is balanced. The balancing issue is that Superpowered gives way too much power back, essentially rewarding less skilled players for less effort. But moving on, what's actually important is why you should never go Hybrid. And that's because in PvP, the buffs which Hybrid has to offer are very small. Plus, now is probably a good time to mention that in PvP, speccing wise, Vit and Dom are irrelevant stats. Vit is totally useless because you don't need it in DPS, and if you're in Troll, you already get buffed. While Dom is actually a useful stat, but not worth speccing into because it barely does anything. But going back to why Hybrid is the worst, firstly, let's compare Hybrid versus Might. So here are my stats when I've specced 100 Might and Power, 100 Resto and 100 Dom. And this is without any augments or base mods, so it's completely fair. And comparing the two, you can see Superpowered has a fair bit more power, which you can get another 100 power cost move out of. They both have the same might. Hybrid gives a pinch more resto, but barely adds any dom. And this isn't even including the insane power back that Superpowered gets, obviously because it's not a visual stat. And the same goes for Weapons Expert. So even though the precision looks the same, Hybrid doesn't get the extra 10% weapon damage that Weapons Expert does. But the point I'm trying to make is that by going Hybrid, you're only nerfing yourself. And this might change in future, but through all my testing currently, there's not a single power that wins out by going Hybrid. Now lastly, here are some basic rules, and you should think of these as fundamentals which apply for any build. And the first rule is to always make sure that you get the weapon mastery buff. And to be honest, I'm surprised on how people miss this because it does clearly say. The only exception I can think of is if you don't want all the combos, say for a weapon like one-handed. The next rule is always to get the breakout mastery. This gives you power back every time you break out, which is practically all the time in PvP. Next, from the iconic powers, you want to get Sonic Cry, Lasso, and Hard Light Shield, even if you're not using them in your loadout. Sonic Cry is the best move in PvP, it's like the jack of all trades and can work its way into any loadout. Lasso because it grounds the opponent, which is always handy to have as every now and again there's going to be that guy that's flying in the air. And getting Hard Light Shield should be obvious enough. While we're on the topic of iconics, if you're scrimming someone no gear, Dom and crits are actually the only stats that do matter, which is funnily opposite to what I said earlier. Next is to get the most up-to-date base mods, which require membership but have a huge impact to your stats. And lastly, you want to get augments, which thankfully don't need to be ranked up because their stats get clamped. There are minefields everywhere, so done in true Obsidian Chill fashion, here's Mood Swings Guide to know if someone's chatting. If they spec past 100, end it there. If they spec Hybrid, end it there. If a healer specs Resto, end it there. If they somewhat touch, Vit or Dom, end it there. But if it's no gear and they spec anything but Dom, end it there. If they don't get the weapon mastery buff, end it there. If they don't get the breakout mastery, end it there. And if they don't get the 3 iconics, or at least mention them, you should end it there. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you learned something new, and if you still have any questions, put them in the comments. I reply to all comments. Make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with another video. Take care.